Okay, there's a trick to getting your budgies back in the cage once they've been out. These guys have been out all day. These guys are all back in their cage. In fact, Olive, right over here, she flew back in with the other guys. They know their cage. But this cage here is some guys that don't like to go in. So what I'm going to do, I've closed the cage up for a bit so they get hungry. And I have a treat for them. This is the only time they get millet, is when I want to get them back in their cage. So I'm going to put a little millet in there. And sometimes budgies are really tricky. These guys over here, I can open the cage up, put the millet in, they all fly into it, and I walk up and close the door. But these guys over here are a bit sneaky. So what I do, I have a string attached to the door. And what I'm going to do is open the door, and I'm going to spin the cage around facing the window here. Let's spin that baby around. And then I'm going to pull the trap door up with the string and head back here. Okay, and Colby went in immediately. Now let's see if we can get Olga. Olga is the troublemaker. So I have a string attached to the door. I can open and close it like a drawbridge. And there she goes. And I pull the string and close the door. And there they are. Now, that's how you get budgies back in a cage that are difficult to get back in the cage. They have to get hungry enough to go back in. Now, they're not just going to get millet. I'm also going to give them some cooked grains again. And I have to get Olive out of this cage, because if she stays in this cage, see, she knows she belongs in the other cage. She's going to go over there. They'll fight. These guys have their own. There she is. Look at her. She's, I belong in the other cage. Oh my God, what am I doing in this cage? Okay, so I'm going to have to catch her and put her in the other cage, because these guys, they don't want her in their cage. And when they're done eating here, they're going to go after her and start I say attacking her, but harassing her. Look at her. She knows she belongs in the other cage. Look at her going back and forth. Okay, let me catch her and get her into the right cage. Okay, so here's Miss Olive. Ow! Okay, here's Miss Olive biting me, as budgies can bite very hard. Now, it's actually a good thing to handle your budgies a lot like this. Sometimes they won't go in, and we have to wait till dark for, especially Olga, this light blue one over here. She's just a little, we call her the little bitch, Olga bitch, but she won't go in a lot of times, even when she's hungry, and we have to wait till it gets dark. Somebody has to work the light switch. Wait till it gets dark. Somebody has to work the light switch, and then we catch her with a dark cloth. Ow! Jesus, Olive, what are you doing? But it's good to hold your budgies like this, gently. Let me focus that, Olive. Let me open the cage up here. Okay, I'm going to put her up on a perch. Now, the reason it's good to hold your budgies like that once in a while is because they get really used to being held. And if they have to go to the vet for an examination, they're used to being held in someone's hand. These guys are used to being held. And if they're not used to being held and the vet tries to restrain them and hold them, they can have heart failure from being so scared. In fact, at our exotic vet, you have to sign a waiver that says you understand that the bird could die while being examined. So, be prepared. Budgies can bite really hard. You know, maybe you want to wear some kind of thin glove or something. It doesn't bother me, but these guys are so used to being caught and held that if they go to the vet, a couple of them have had to go to the vet for certain reasons. there's no problem. I see these birds, they're used to being handled. So these 3 are in here. I used to have 4 in here. I had Sunny Blue, despite all the good feeds that they got, the good diet, she got egg bound. She was a very tiny little budgie. She got egg bound. I tried different things, warm steam and everything, but the egg was caught up in a membrane and it hadn't busted through the membrane. And when I took her in, she was in really bad shape already, and they had to put her down. So I guess the lesson learned is you never know what you're going to end up with, especially with the females. Budgies are so tiny, you know, the eggs they lay are huge compared to them, to their body. And I was really sad that that happened, but sometimes there's things that you just can't help. You give them the right diet, lots of fresh greens, and a varied diet. She was on pellets. She was on cooked grains that were fortified with a bird, powdered vitamin. Sometimes they have seeds a couple times a week. And despite that, she still had problems. She had laid many eggs as well. She was an egg-laying female, and that kind of worries me. But the egg was caught up in a membrane that wouldn't break, and the egg would not break through it. So right now we have 3 in here. We have Olga, Olive, and Colby, who's the boy. And over here, we have our 3 yellow guys, Gertie, Archie, and Lola. And we also have Tad. There's Tad with his little spot on his head. And these guys have been out all day. They have a whole giant gym there. They have the whole room. They fly all around this room. And I have the shades pulled down because I don't want them cracking into the window. I have tape up there so that they see the glass, and they move the curtains. They like to work on the valances and pull them. See how that one's pulled way over? That's Budgie's work. And of course you have to cover up anything made of wood or anything that can be chewed, because they will chew it. But that's how we get the Budgies back in the cages after they've been out all day. And that's just basically closing the doors up, letting them get hungry, and then offering something they just can't resist, which in this case today was some millet. And here's Tad. He's working on some romaine lettuce. And that's important too, to give your Budgies greens several times a week. It doesn't have to be every day. They like parsley and they like romaine lettuce. Actually, they like parsley better than romaine lettuce. So now they're just going to hang out until it gets dark, and they'll be going to sleep when the sun goes down. I'm also giving them some cooked grains. They got cooked grains this morning. I alternate the foods. I'll give them the high potency pellets, and we use Harrison's, and I'm not promoting it, but I heard it was a good one. The vet recommended it. I don't know if the vet has stock in the company. Never sure what people are up to, but Harrison's extra fine high potency pellets, which go into the pans here. And I got to clean these pans out. Pans need washing out pretty much every day. They also get plates full of they're eating right now, they're eating quinoa, wild rice, and barley that's been boiled for 10 minutes, cooled off, kept in the refrigerator. Don't cover anything until it's completely cooled. You want to run cold water over it through a netted colander to cool it off. And then store it, because if you put stuff away while it's warm, bacteria will grow in it if it's covered. So this gets made up maybe about 2 to 3 days worth, and then it gets cooked up again fresh. So they love their cooked grains. I sprinkle a little bit of powdered vitamin on it. So they get a big variety of foods here. And of course they love the millet. The millet is just a treat. Never give millet as a main diet. I knew some people, they would hang millet up. That's all the bird mostly ate was millet. That is not a good diet. Okay, so these guys are gobbling that up. And it's an overcast day outside. It's very overcast, and it's gonna feel dark earlier, and they already know that. It's easier to get them in on overcast days than to get them in on sunny days where the room's real bright. So they're working on that. They're working on that. Like I say, it's not a curated channel. This is the way the cage looks after one day. There is poop, and there is food all over the place, and that one I spilled the water a bit when I turned the cage around. But I have to clean these pans out and give them a scrub. So I'll let these guys eat, and then I'll scrub the pans out and maybe give them a few pellets, and that'll get them through till tomorrow. And the budgies don't come out. They don't come out every day, and that's another good thing. You must let your birds out, but don't let them out every single day, because if you do let them out every single day, and I'm talking about caged birds like this, little budgies, they'll get so used to it that if you ever have to go on a vacation or away and somebody's taking care of them, they're going to get very upset not being out. So these guys get out every second day, and when we go somewhere, rarely, but once a year when we go somewhere, and my brother's taking care of them, they don't mind being in. It's like they know that sometimes they're inside the cage. Okay, well that's it for today about the budgies. And I thought I'd just show you this little slick trap door trick with a string for the naughties. Okay, they will not, go in if they see you. If they do go in and they see you hurrying up to close the door, they fly right back out again. This is the naughty cage, and this is the obedient cage. These are the rebels, and these are the joiners over here. So anyway, that's one way you can do a little trick to close the door and get your budgies back in. But your birds do need to fly free. I'll talk about in another video the problems that people have when they let their budgies out near a place where there's an outside door, and that can end usually ends very sadly. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like. See you next time.